The following is an AZPM original production.
Arizona Science is supported by Research Corporation for Science Advancement.
For AZPM, I'm Leslie Tolbert, Regents Professor Emerita in Neuroscience at the University of Arizona, and this is Arizona Science. Our guest today is Michael Johnson, Associate Professor in Immunobiology and a member of the university's Bio5 Institute and the Valley Fever Center for Excellence. Thanks for joining us, Michael.
My pleasure to be here.
Tell us a bit about your background. I understand you started out with interest in music, and here you are on a science program.
Absolutely. Well, music kind of kept me sane growing up, kept me out of trouble. So I was very interested in pursuing that as a career for a while. So when I went to school, I actually majored in music. So I didn't have a science major. Music was always there to kind of inform how I thought about the world.
And so what drew you into biochemistry and biophysics?
I took an organic chemistry class. It was actually eye-opening, and I realized that I could do hard things. And if I applied myself, that this was a possibility. And I started to really develop a joy and a love for all the things in science. And it just really kind of inspired me to want to pursue a career in that particular area.
What drew you to your particular area of research on metals as essential nutrients for all living creatures, and then a special focus on bacteria?
My love in metals came from when I was in graduate school, and I was looking at a protein in this particular bacteria called Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and that, it can cause a lot of things, like it's very prevalent in people with cystic fibrosis. It can cause lung infections, and one of the ways that it holds on to the host, so it has to attach first. So if it doesn't attach, then you can just cough it out. So one of the ways that it attaches first is through this protein complex called a pili, which is basically just like an arm-like structure that the bacteria has. And this one protein out of all these 20 to 30 protein complexes had this one site that bound this one molecule of calcium. And when that molecule of calcium was bound, the pilus was out. When that molecule of calcium was not bound, the pilus was in. So this one metal in this one protein in this 30 protein structure controlled whether or not that bacteria could attach to a host cell or not, which means that this one calcium molecule could actually control infection if you knew how to understand how it was essentially interplaying with the remaining protein. So I thought that these metals had power. These metals had a lot of interest, and it just really, really sparked me to, want to understand how these metals now played in other areas of biology.
And so you've been looking broadly across bacteria, especially. What are metals doing? Is it the same metal always, or are they different metals for different species?
There are some metals that our bodies need that the bacteria don't. And one of those metals is actually copper, which is kind of nice because I get to do all this research in the copper state. We use copper in our daily lives as part of our diet, and we actually use copper for metabolism. So anytime, the engine of your cells, you always hear about the mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell, right? Well, to generate that energy, copper is one of the cofactors that a lot of the proteins in those particular pathways use. So without copper, we actually would not survive. We're able to tolerate, and not only tolerate, but also utilize copper for our survival. But on the flip side of it, the bacteria are trying to get rid of it. The bacteria don't really want it. So we're trying to exploit that narrow niche to find new therapeutics.
Are we all getting enough copper daily without working at it to stay healthy? Or do you, for instance, with your knowledge, take more copper every day than the rest of us do to stay healthy?
So while I don't want to give nutritional advice because that's not my field, what I will say is that if I grab some multivitamins and it doesn't have copper on the back of it, I do give it the side eye.
Fascinating. Thank you very much. Dr. Michael Johnson works at the intersection of microbiology and immunobiology to expand opportunities for developing new, effective antibiotics. You can listen to this and all Arizona Science conversations at azpm.org/Arizona Science. I'm Leslie Tolbert.
Thank you to Research Corporation for Science Advancement for their support of Arizona Science. AZPM podcasts are made possible in part by donations from listeners like you. Learn more at support.azpm.org. Thank you.